Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our PhD in Biomedical Engineering info session. I hope you're having a great day. Today we'll be discussing the different requirements for our doctoral program. Our panelists today are Dr. Henry Hest, Chair of the Graduate Studies Committee, myself, Jody Del Sol, Associate Director of Academic and Student Affairs, Thomas Bina, a doctoral student from GoBME, and Natasha Stanlist, Graduate Admissions Officer, who discuss admissions information. Now I pass it to Dr. Henry Hess.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this session and just give you a brief overview of the department. Next slide, please. So, as you probably already know, we are a team of faculty and students operating here in New York City. We are located in the engineering school organizationally, but we are having very close ties with the Columbia University Irving Medical Center, and many of our research groups are actually located at the medical campus, whereas some are located at the New Manhattanville campus, and a good number are located at the Morningside campus. So we're distributed all across the university doing engineering in medicine. Next slide, please. So, of course, we're doing a lot of research, but we're also, and maybe our most famous researcher is Professor Gordana Vunjak-Novakovic, who has been appointed one of the 8 or 10 university professors, which are the most distinguished professors here at Columbia University. But we also have many outstanding students and graduates who succeed in science, engineering, but also entrepreneurship. So many of our students start startup companies and get funding for that and participate in various competitions. Next slide, please. So we are 25 core faculty, so which means 25 engineering professors, which are core members of the BME department. And we have probably about another 15 or 20 affiliate faculty, who are professors in the medical school or other departments outside of BME, who closely collaborate with us and admit PhD students to their labs through the BME program. As you can see, we have a good number of undergraduate students and master students. The PhD program has grown to 160 students. And yeah, all our students are supported by the $20 million of research funding our faculty bring in every year. As you can see, the male to female ratio is about even among our PhD students. And yeah, and it's a healthy ratio between faculty and students overall. Next slide, please. So the department was founded only in 2000. It's the youngest department at the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. And it was founded by Professor Dan Mao. And we had many successes along the way. Various people won awards. And yeah, we are a very successful but happy team. Yeah. Next slide, please. So the graduate studies, so meaning the PhD program and the master's program, is directed by the Graduate Studies Committee, of which I'm the chair. And as you can see, the number of faculty, junior, senior faculty who contribute their wisdom to directing this program. Next slide, please. And yeah, here's a very nice overview. I think that also exists as a sort of a handout of what the different faculty are doing and what their research interest is. It's a good starting point for you to sort through who is doing what, and then dig deeper and look at the websites and the past papers and maybe reach out to one of their students if you're interested in the research of these faculty members. Again, these are the core faculty members. There's a number of affiliate faculty members listed on our website. If you go to search for the, go to the website, go to people, and find the faculty, and you will see who is an affiliate or joint faculty member of the department beyond these core faculty members. Thank you. Next. So if you ask me what we're doing, the short answer is everything, right? So one can group this in areas: bioinformatics, neuroengineering, biomaterials and tissue engineering, biomechanics, biomedical imaging, robotics and control of biological systems. But fundamentally, we're doing everything, and the boundaries are blurry, and faculty collaborate with other faculty. So it's a very exciting. If you're interested in something specific, you should find something close in our department. Next slide, please. Something which has become a big focus in our department, particularly since 2020, is that we're paying much more attention to diversity, equity, and inclusion, as many other departments across the country. And our DI committee is chaired by Dr. Elisa Kunefago and now also co-chaired by Dr. Trina Arendsee. And we're trying to basically make everyone be welcome and supported here at the department. Thank you. And as you can see, just from the number of doctoral students, and it's, since I'm an engineering professor, I felt we should have at least one graph with an x-axis and a y-axis. As you can see, there's steady growth driven by new hiring of new people, new faculty who bring new ideas and new areas into the department. And so, and as you can see, since a PhD takes 5 to 6 years, we typically take in 30 to 40 students every year as new MS, PhD, or PhD students. And as we will explain in a moment, however, we don't take them in as a class. We admit them into specific labs from the outset. So no rotations, specific admissions. But the students who come in at the same time typically have strong connections with each other and go through the program together. Good. Next slide, please. And as you can see, we have students coming in from all over the world. Yeah, pretty much. Well, it's Finland, Australia, Antarctica, and Africa, but we're working on that. But in general, it's a very international group of people. I think everyone should feel supported and find a connection in our department. Next slide. Good. And now I want to turn it back to Dr. Del Sol and let her introduce you to the degree requirements and also the funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hess. My My name is Jody Del Sol. I will go over the degree requirements and funding information for the doctoral program. The doctoral degree requirements. So each student is required to complete 2 semesters of TA teaching requirements, their thesis proposal, and then defend their thesis. In year 1, you start conducting your research and your coursework. And year 2, you continue doing your coursework and registering for research credits. And then you'll complete your qualifying exam, usually in January. And you'll obtain your master's degree in the spring semester if you're an MS PhD student once you complete your 30 credits. In year 3, you'll continue conducting research and finish up your TA requirements. Year 4, you will defend your proposal. And year 5, you will defend your thesis. The curriculum requirements for the MS PhD. For the MS PhD program, you will complete 30 credits toward the MS degree, and then you'll obtain your MS after the 30 credits are completed. Doctoral students must maintain full-time registration status. For students that are enrolled in the MS PhD program, they're required to take 12 credits a semester, and students enrolled in the PhD doctoral program are required to register for residence units, which equates to being a full-time student. When students are applying for the qualifying exam, there is a minimum of 3.2 GPA, and we do not calculate the research credits into that GPA calculation. Students should not receive more than 2 grades of a C or below in their doctoral program. These are the curriculum requirements for the MS degree portion of the MS PhD. So students are required to complete 6003 computation model physiological systems, 1 graduate level math course of applied math or statistics, 4 BME graduate level courses at the 4,000 level or higher, and 2 semesters of graduate seminar, which is a 0 credit course, but it's required to complete the seminar courses. And then you'll move on to technical electives, which are 3 courses in C's, which is our engineering schools at the 4,000 level or higher. And then you can complete 1 course of a outside of C's course. And all of the technical electives should be in the BME related courses. And you can also substitute 6 credits of master's research that can be applied towards your MS degree. And all of the courses are required, must be at the 4,000 level or higher and be letter graded. This is a sample schedule of the MS degree. So for the first semester, students take usually their APMA course, seminar, 2 BME courses, and a C's elective. In the second semester, computational modeling is only offered in the spring. And then you take your seminar, your elective, and your C's courses. And in the third semester, students complete their master's degree, and then they'll take, to complete their master's degree, they'll take additional 6 credits of doctoral research so they can be a full-time student. Now we move on to the PhD portion of the program. So students who are required to take 9 credits, so they will take computational modeling BME and 6003, which is only offered in the spring semester, 2 graduate level math courses at the 4,000 level. So applied math can either be linear algebra, ordinary differential equations, or a statistics course. And also you can take biostats as the math requirement, or any 4,000 level course from the statistics department. The 2 semesters of graduate seminar and 6 residence units are required. Students who receive their master's degree are given 2 residence units applied of advanced standing. And then our students continue to take courses of 21 credits. You can either do 21 credits of research or take courses in our C's department. And we always utilize that you reach out to your advisor on what courses relate to your research. And up to 21 credits may be applied of doctoral research credits. For the doctoral requirements for the qualifying exam, it's only offered in January of each year. You must complete your 30 credits and have a GPA of 3.2 or higher, and that does not include the research credits. The format is an oral exam and a written evaluation of 3 papers. The suggested courses are graduate level math courses, APMA or statistics, physiological 4001 QP1, or QP2, and 6003. Please consult your advisor on these courses. Professor Henry-Hurst, do you have anything to discuss about this?
Sorry, I was answering questions on the thing. So qualifying exam. Yes, qualifying exam, very important. But also very doable. So it's not an exam where we try to weed out students. It's an exam where we try to figure out where our students have deficiencies and what can be done to fix this. So that's my take on this. Thomas, do you have anything?
Yeah, I'll say it's definitely a lot of stress going in. But in some sense it's also a little fun. And it's, when you come out of it, you don't feel as bad as you felt going in. Like Dr. S said, it's not to weed anyone out, but it's just one of those checkpoints where you get the earliest checkpoint of, how are things going?
It's a lot of fun if you get to ask the questions as a professor, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Thank you. And then you will be able to apply for your Master's in Philosophy, your MPhil. The requirements are 3.2 GPA, 30 credits above your master's degree, your qualifying exam, 6 residence units, and 2 terms of being a TA. Now we'll pass it on to Thomas Bina from GoBME.
Yeah, thanks, Jody. Yeah, so I'm Thomas. I guess I'm going into my 4th year PhD with Dr. Helen Liu. And yeah, so for this past year, I've been the president of GoBME, so the graduate organization in our department. So next slide. So our organization really focuses on, creating events and supporting all the graduate students in our department. So this is our current board, so we'll be holding elections about a month from now, or actually a little less than a month from now. But we really focus on a few different areas. We tend to host a lot of social events, but also philanthropy, academics, and we manage new student mentorship for the PhD program, as well as IM sports for the department. Next slide. So these are some of the events that we've hosted this year. So like I said, a lot of social events. So they tend to involve either free food, if they're on campus, free drinks if they're not. But we'll also do outreach events. So we did a park cleanup towards the end of the summer in collaboration with a couple other departments. And just this weekend, we have an experiment going for Girls Science Day. So outreach into middle school girls programs, get them involved in science. Next slide. And yeah, and again, just to reiterate, so we manage fall intramural. So I think our department is between us and chemical engineering, but we're better than them. Are probably the most involved. So fall intramurals, basketball, volleyball, soccer, various city outings. We do our best to provide free food. And then sort of academic programs. So things like the NSFG RFP, during your quals, we're around to try to provide workshops or provide kind of a forum for help for those things. And then again, science outreach, as I said, hopefully next week, we'll have like a food drive for like Thanksgiving time as well. So we're kind of reaching into a lot of different things, but really around to, help out around the department, as well as, provide a space for graduate students to kind of get to know each other outside of the research setting necessarily. Next slide. So yeah, if you want to see kind of whatever's going on, probably our Instagram is the thing that's the most updated. You can also email us or you can DM us on there. If you want to connect with students and have questions, if you end up joining the department, I'm sure you'll see a lot of emails from us. And then also I'll drop my email in the chat, uh, just so that means if you want to get in contact with, current students, you can either ask me or, I can put you in contact with someone who would probably be best suited to answer, as well.
Now we will go and transition to Natasha Stanilis, Graduate Admissions Officer.
Okay, welcome everyone. Good morning from New York City. My name is Natasha Stanislaus. I'm a member of the graduate admissions team here at Columbia Engineering. Wild to say out loud, but I'll have 10 years at Columbia University this upcoming January. But I've been absolutely thrilled with being able to assist students in learning more about their various graduate admissions opportunities. So with that, we'll talk a little bit more about the application deadlines. And so with the application deadlines, I would hope, or sorry, I don't know if we've moved to the next slide. There we go. So for the application deadlines, I would hope that you've made it this far because you are really strongly considering the biomedical engineering PhD program or MS-PhD. That being said, these are the deadlines for all of the programs. So if you are still waffling between one or two different options, or you're not quite sure if you're choosing the MS-PhD, the PhD, or just the MS right now, it is good to be mindful that there are different, not just applications, but also deadlines. So for 2024 entry, those applications are available. And for fall 2024, the doctoral program deadline is December 15th. If you are, again, thinking that you'll just head for straight to the Masters of Science instead, for biomedical engineering, it's February 15th. And a little bit more about our application requirements on this next slide. In order to be considered for the program, you'll need to complete your application online. So the GRE is optional for 2024. What I will say is that if you've got a great GRE score that you'd like to brag about, by all means, add that to the application. That will be absolutely considered with the rest of your academic credentials. However, if you do not want to show your GRE score, there's no way to unring that bell. So be mindful that we are test optional, not test blind. In addition to the online application that you submit, with the application fee, we will need copies of all of your university transcripts, 3 recommendation letters, which we do hope that there's a strong academic presence between those letters, your resume, your CV. We'd love to learn more about your research, your publication experience, and of course, a personal statement to learn more about you as well. So every single department may have slight nuances to the requirements that are listed here, in particular that video interview. That being said, if you are applying to any of our programs that require a video interview, know that the video interview is straightforward. It's only 3 minutes. It's yourself and a video camera, but just be mindful of that. But when it comes to the application, I already see that there's some questions popping in. I'll be sure to pop into the Q&A to assist as helpful. We do need all of those transcripts again and recommendation letters, and you're able to do all of this online. So nothing should be mailed to the admissions office. And so now thinking about funding, a bit of that was discussed earlier, but again, I do know that some of you might still be considering the differences between different programs here at Columbia Engineering. What I will say is that all Masters of Science programs here are primarily self-funded. There may be certain fellowships you can pursue or certain options to fund your degree, but we largely reserve funding for our PhD students. So they're fully funded through research assistantships or teaching assistantships. As a Masters of Science student, if you were to even pursue a course assistantship of any way, they would not be part of a funding package. It would not be part of you finding that out before enrollment. It would not be towards your tuition. They may pay, but that's something to just keep in mind. And I also like to point out that regardless of which option you're choosing, external funding is always going to be helpful for you. External funding is always going to be helpful for you finding options and being able to be as flexible as possible. So you do want to be mindful of that. We do have some fellowships that are very specific to certain populations. In any case, we will email out about those opportunities in the upcoming winter. And if you'd like, you can use this QR code at the bottom of the slide to find out more information. If you didn't know your smart device, your phone, if you take a picture of QR codes, most phones now, you can actually tap the QR code and go straight to the link. So that's a bit of an overview about the funding. And now just a quick mention about student life. I think we've covered and talked a little bit about it before, but just a bird's eye view at Columbia Engineering. We're very serious about our academics, but we also value building community here amongst our students, faculty, and staff. And so on the next slide here, you'll see engineering student organizations. These are industry and research focused, as well as some more interest-based clubs, not quite department specific. It's so great ways to be able to interact with your peers. And we encourage students to join one or more of these groups or to go forth and be a leader as much as possible. Again, community is very important to us. And then on this next slide, we do have our affinity student organizations. So there are some student organizations that are designed to help students form community amongst certain social and personal identities. So some of you hopefully might already be part of these organizations at your undergrad or graduate institutions, or may have been familiar with some of the conferences and events that some of these larger national organizations put together. But these are the Columbia Engineering, chapters. And I'd also like to point out there's always the Engineering Graduate Student Council, or EGSC, which serves as a student government for our students here on campus. And then another factor of student life would actually be engineering wellness, which is on this next slide. It's really important for us to have this multifaceted approach that can take into account the various dimensions of student health. So creating programming, creating opportunities for you to think about how well you are and how you're taking care of yourself. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And so we know you value your academics. We know you have very strong professional and academic goals. We want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and mindful of the ways that you can manage your stress or have tools that help you achieve balance, not just now as a student, but also and beyond as a professional as well. These are the tools that you get to keep with you for a lifetime. And then on this next slide, just a few tidbits about the community building events that we put together. There are graduate student socials, ways again for you to really get to know your peers in a social setting. So we do have on this next slide some additional photos of different opportunities to get to know your peers, whether it's a Broadway show or a sporting event. Taking advantage of the culture of New York City is really important. It's a big reason for why students love to study at Columbia. So there's several discounted or even free opportunities for you as a student, but what better way than to enjoy New York City than with your classmates? And so these are organized by the school. So I think that's it from me. This next slide is just a quick reminder of how to reach out to the admissions office. So if you have questions about the mechanics of your application itself, you're welcome to reach out to the admissions office. And again, if you wanted to take a quick picture of this QR code and tap it on your smartphone to be brought to the application, I believe many of you have started your application. I would hope so. The deadline's not too far away, but it's always a good reminder to check in on the application and to begin chipping away at those required components, and to remember that there's a whole cadre of professionals here at Columbia Engineering to help you submit your application. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Natasha. So this is how you can follow us on social media. We're very vibrant on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also on our BME website and LinkedIn. So continue to follow us for any of our events and different opportunities that we might have in our department. Now we're going to go into our Q&A session where we will answer some of your questions that we have in the chat. So I see the first question is, do credits transfer or apply for people coming in with their master's degree? Yes, that if you have a master's degree, you will obtain 30 credits and towards that degree. Next
Okay,
question. Oh.
Yeah, go ahead, Jody, please.
The next question is the PhD only option also 5 years, or is it only 3 years? Professor Hess, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so technically you save the first year before, because you get credit for the masters you already have. In practice, it seems that you're only saving 6 months. Like if you look at the end, the PhD only students seem to graduate like 6 months earlier on average than the MS PhD students. But yeah, so it's good to have a master's, but it's not required by any means. And there's a good number of students coming in with a master's, but I don't think it's the majority. Right? Good. Let's do a course requirements and majors. You don't have to be a BME major to join the graduate program. I've had students with statistics undergraduate degrees, metallurgy, BME, from chemical engineering, basically from all over the place. If you're lacking, in the end, you get selected for what you know, and the things you don't know, you can learn while you're here. Do internal fellowships require separate applications? So the funding, everybody who gets admitted gets funded fully to the MS, PhD, or PhD only program. You're getting a significant stipend, which I think is on ballpark $47,000 per year or something like that, which is significantly higher than the average stipend and lets you live in New York City. You won't get rich, but you can make it, right, Thomas? An important thing to say is that Columbia provides housing for graduate students, and that makes it reasonably affordable. So, Thomas, you want to say anything about the housing situation?
Sure. Yeah, I will say definitely the stipend is very generous compared to other schools. Of course, we are in New York, so cost of living is adjusted for. But yeah, as Dr. Hess said, it's definitely I'm not worried about my financial situation under the stipend. And yes, Columbia Housing. So if you look up Columbia Residential on Google, it should come up. So it's apartments owned by Columbia, managed by Columbia. They tend to be nice and are definitely nice for the cost. The cost being much lower than you would pay in general if you were looking outside of the Columbia system. And they tend to be within walking distance of campus as well, which is nice.
Yeah, but the cost depends on what you're picking, but it's anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 per month or something like that. As a fair statement.
Yeah, so it depends, how many roommates. So if you're looking for, there are some studios which can get up to, maybe $2,000 a month, which again, much cheaper. They just built a new apartment by not Columbia, but outside of the university by my apartment. I was looking at it. So that's outside the system studio is like 5,000. So, definitely huge discount. But if you don't mind roommates, or if you can find roommates going in, you can get that down to, somewhere around 1,000, 1,100, 1,200.
Yeah, and you do not have to apply for any internal things or something like that. You submit your application, and the faculty will figure out how to get you supported. when would you guys generally start notifying applicants for interviews? So it's a bit a rolling process in that the application deadline is December 15. Then the professors spend maybe 4 weeks to look over all the applications. Then we start, some people do Zoom interviews, but then we bring in the applicants who reside in the US and Canada for an in-person interview. And they're notified towards the end of January. And the interview happens on February 26th. Is that right, Jody? When is the interview?
February 22nd.
22nd, February 22nd. Then we ask the students who they liked, who's the students who came to the interview. And then towards the end of the beginning to mid of March, we start making offers. For the international students, the interview process runs in parallel. Like faculty who are interested in their applications will reach out to interviews. Then we typically have at least a second interview with another faculty member over Zoom. And then so it's a rolling process. Like it may take quite a while until the faculty have sort of sorted out how many students they want to reach out to. And you may hear early, you may hear late as end of March, early April. Responses to offers have to be made by April 15, as for every other school. And yeah, so then if you may hear as early as somebody may reach out in early January, but it may also be fairly late, depending how, because also faculty have new grants coming in, and so their situation is a bit dynamic. Like they may have a new opening being generated in the spring sometime, and so yeah, it's a slow moving process. Anything you want to add, Natasha, to that? No.
Yeah, no, I think in general, the sooner your application is submitted and complete, then the hope is that you'll be part of the earlier, kind of responses. But know that your application is reviewed by many wonderful faculty and administrators, and we take a lot of care into building a class.
Yes, but the application has to be complete for the faculty to see that. Until the thing is complete, it's not getting passed on to the faculty. So that's
Okay. So we have several questions in the chat. I think there was one for you, Natasha. Do the transcripts and standardized tests have to be sent officially?
Great question. So the transcripts are sent, well, if you're done with your program, you may send them officially electronically if you would like. For the admissions process, though, you are able to submit a copy of your transcript, which is considered an unofficial transcript because it's not coming directly from the issuing registrar. And we also don't want you to get too overwhelmed and confused with the difference of an unofficial and official transcript. You'd be surprised how confusing that could be. And so you're welcome to just submit a copy. For test scores, they don't necessarily need to be official just yet, but know that the sooner you send official materials, then if offered admission, you don't have to do it again if it's all done and complete. That being said, we don't want there to be delays in your application. As we've clarified, we can't review an application or start that process until it's complete. And so copies are more than fine at the admissions process, but anything you submit does need to be verified. So just because we're test optional, if you're submitting an unofficial GRE score, we will absolutely need a verified GRE score as we go through the enrollment process.
Okay, thank you. There's another question about transfer credits. We do not accept transfer credits in the program. Only the master's degree will be transferred in. Question, how strict are the suggested prerequisite undergrad course requirements for admission? Is there a suggested prereq listed? As Professor Henry has mentioned, you can have any degree, but you just have the necessary math requirements and biology background. Anything you'd like to add, Professor Hess?
Yes, again, you can be almost any sort of scientist or engineer to be admitted. And then you can figure out, well, you're in collaboration with your advisor, you can figure out classes which fill your the regions of ignorance where you, let's say if you don't know that much of biology, you can start with your biology classes here. The most important thing is basically, does your background fit with what the faculty member is looking for? Again, we're admitting directly into specific labs. And we're not doing a rotation. So there has to be fit between you and your future advisor from the beginning. And because the advisors are doing wildly different research, what they can consider as an attractive candidate varies a lot from person to person. Some people really want students with extensive math background. Others want students who ideally have worked with animals before. It all depends on the individual advisor. And even for the individual advisor, it's not the same thing every time. It depends on what new project they have and what hole in their group they're trying to fill. And so it's a little bit impossible to say what makes you the perfect candidate. If you think there could be a match, apply and see what happens. That would be my advice. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question. Is it possible to get a transfer into the MS PhD program at Columbia from ongoing MS program at another university? You can transfer into the MS PhD program, but you won't be able to transfer your current credits from your previous institution.
One question which often comes up is, what if I'm not selected for the MS PhD or PhD program? Is my application being considered automatically for the MS program? And the answer to that is, you're going to be presented with a checkbox during the application process. And the question there is, do you want your application to be considered for the MS only program? And if you check it, then we will consider your application in case you're not being selected for the MS PhD program or the PhD only program. Let me just say that the admission rate is small. It's a very, very selective process. And so if you would, as I mentioned earlier, we're admitting 30, 40 PhD students every year. We're admitting 100 to 120 MS students. every year. In MS, the master students are not being supported by a stipend or fellowship. So this is a much more expensive path. But if your mind is set on getting a graduate degree at Columbia or in New York City, that's another route. Now, but you shouldn't do that with the thought that you're going to continue in the PhD program. It happens, but it's very rare that somebody who starts here as a MS student is then joining as a PhD student after finishing the MS degree. Yeah, but we will, again, if you would consider coming as for the masters only, there's a checkbox. You can check that, and then we will look at it. And it doesn't affect your chances at all for the MS PhD or PhD only for the MS PhD. Back to you, Jody.
Okay, thank you. There's another question about how do students select the faculty that they're interested in conducting research? So let's say to go on to our BME website and look at the different research opportunities that our faculty are participating in, and then you can reach out to the faculty to discuss if they're interested in you, and lab opportunities also. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, look at their websites, look at their papers, reach out. They're very busy people, so they may or may not get back to you. Some faculty only concern themselves with the recruiting once the deadline is passed, and they can look at the whole field and see who they like and who they don't like. There are a couple of questions in here about what matters. Does my GRA matter? Does my ranking matter? Again, because you're admitted into specific labs, it varies. Like some faculty consider GPA to be very important, others don't. So we're looking at your application holistically. That's the formulation. Like everything matters, nothing. In the end, there are no things you absolutely have to have, other than what your future advisor really needs. Just looking. Is there a waitlist for credit housing? No, you will get credit housing when you come in immediately, because that's the moment when you most need it. But when you first show up. So everybody who's coming in will get credit housing. Many people start opting out of credit housing because they find better options in the city. But in the beginning, everybody gets credit housing. Good. Back to you, John.
And there was a question that stated, can you receive offers from multiple labs, or is it match-based system? So it is a match-based system after conducting interviews of at least 3 faculty members.
Yes, so a potential outcome is that you will get an admissions offer which says you can choose between the following 2 or 3 labs, and then you can choose where you can work out something. But yes, it's conceivable that multiple people like you at the same time. That happens every year, but it's not super. I mean, it happens, but for a small number of the applicants. How long does it take to get the degree? I think the average for MS PhD is like 5.5 years, and for the PhD only degree it's 4 years. So typically students take a little bit longer than what the ideal path outlined by Dr. Dassal is. But it varies a little bit between advisors. So a good guide is to see what past students, how long it took them to get a degree.
Mhm.
Are Canadians international students? Absolutely. But they're being considered for the interviews because they're basically close by to New York City. Natasha, maybe do you want to do a couple about how to upload various things and so on?
Sure. Let me just comb through the questions. I see that there's a question about transcripts. You have transfer credits listed on your degree granting institution's transcript. Do I need to submit transcripts for the transfer institutions? Yes, we need transcripts from all attended institutions of post-secondary let's see. If I see that there are some questions about fee waivers, I won't speak on behalf of the department, but I will say for admissions, there's actually a form right on the website, a very robust kind of set of criteria we look for to even be able to just automatically provide a fee waiver. So if you haven't looked into that, that is available as well. I do want to clarify that the TOEFL and the GRE are very different types of exams. So the TOEFL, along with Duolingo and the PTE academic scores, these are English proficiency exams. And so they're not optional in the same way that the GRE is optional. We still need to establish that you're able to do well academically in the program and would be able to, since the language of instruction is English, be able to communicate with faculty, students, your peers, and so in that regard, depending on where you were educated, not your citizenship, but where you were educated, the TOEFL might automatically be waived in the application. But that being said, know that the TOEFL is one of many options for submitting that English proficiency exam. So the TOEFL is not available if it's not readily accessible. The Duolingo has been increasingly popular. And so a lot of information about that is on our website. Are there any other questions that seem admission specific that I should chime in on? I see. I know that there's a lot of care into describing the interview process, and into what the department is looking for. Let's see.
I don't see any other admissions questions.
Oh, I see one that
Right,
chimed
right.
in, and I'll just say it. There's questions about kind of reviewing transcripts and research and components of the application in advance. Admissions does not offer sort of these type of reviews, simply because it's not the admissions process. It's not the same as reviewing your full entire application with references alongside all the other applicants. That being said, of course, if you make connections with members of the department, and they have more generalized feedback they'd like to provide, that is okay. But know that that's not the true admissions process, and there's always nuances that just your resume or just a list of research or just a transcript would be able to provide insight. And that's why it is a holistic process, because all those factors are so important.
Just going through the questions. Summer semesters are funded.
Maybe let me do another one. Somebody was asking, what if there are multiple students if there are more students who want to work for one faculty member, then the faculty member has spaces. Again, we do admit into specific labs. That situation does not occur. We make you an offer to join a specific lab, and we expect you to finish your PhD in that lab. No rotations, unless you have some fancy scholarship or something like that, but which requires that. But in general, no rotations. You end where you start, and we'll tell you where we offer you to start. And then that faculty member will support you from her or his research grants, and then, yeah, it goes from there.
I know we have a couple more minutes before we end our session, just going through the questions.
I think a master's in engineering is considered to be the same as a master's in science. Okay. No CME credits cannot be applied to anything. Yeah, again, it makes sense to reach out to faculty beforehand and see if you can stir up some interest, but there's a good chance that they will just not look at it right away, or wait until all the applications are complete. It doesn't hurt to try. Natasha, there's some questions about the international transcripts and letter grading, if they're reviewed.
Yeah, so if you actually reach out to the admissions office, I know we have sort of suggestions on how to at this stage of the admissions process have an insight into what your transcript looks like compared to other transcripts. But I do want to be clear, even American transcripts have various grading styles. They're not 100% consistent, and some don't have grades either. So we are reviewing the transcript in the context of not just the country, but also the institution. There is some information provided to us, and of course, there's a bevy of skill sets across the admissions office as well. So if you're having questions about whether or not your transcript, because there isn't a GPA outright listed, would qualify, I can provide a snippet of information in the chat that might be helpful, but do know that we evaluate transcripts from all over the world.
Natasha, can you talk about application fee waivers for a moment?
Yes. So I know that there's some interest in application fee waivers. We do give fee waivers. I know the admissions office has for attending graduate fair events. And of course, there are a number of qualifications actually listed right on our website. There's a quick form that you can fill out to be considered for one. I saw earlier that there was a question if attendees of this event get a fee waiver. That would not be up to me. But of course, Jody, if that is the case, you're welcome to let admissions know. We're always happy to help and make that happen.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, generally the admissions fee waivers are handed out by the admissions office, not by me or Jody. So you got to take it up with the admissions office.
Yeah, it's just if you wanted to send them out en masse for event attendees, we would of course be able to help with that, but that wouldn't be my call if that makes any sense. We can work together to make that happen, but know that there is a process. I'm happy to share the link for that in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
I think we can, it's 11 o'clock right now, and we want to make sure everything gets on time. If you have any additional questions, you can reach out to us at bme@columbia.edu and we'll be able to answer your question. Anyone else have anything to add? Yes. So thank you for joining us today at our info session. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us, and also graduate admissions. They'll be able to answer any of your application inquiries. Thank you and have a nice day.